It's a re-release, and it's Blowout, directed by Brian De Palma and made in 1981.
It began with a sound that no one was ever supposed to hear.
He's the one who saw it?
Yes, he says he pulled a girl out of the car.
I would like you to forget about her.
Yeah, that's what I heard just before the tire blew out. You're right, it was a shot.
He recorded a murder they say never happened.
There's still loose ends, witnesses. The girl, I've decided to terminate her.
Brian De Palma's Blowout. Now you hear it. Now you don't.
So this was Brian De Palma's follow-up to Dressed to Kill, which we talked about in the adult section a few months ago. And this is one of De Palma's sort of most acclaimed movies, and it's sort of an amalgamation of a film called Blow Up and The Conversation, and it's sort of De Palma trying his hand at a sort of a political conspiracy thriller with tits and arse, of course, because it's Brian De Palma, obviously. And it stars John Travolta as Jack Terry, who is a sound engineer who works for this movie studio which makes terrible stalk and slasher films. In fact, maybe they made Wrong Turn that we just watched. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. But he is he's a sound engineer, and he's out recording sounds one night for the horror movie. He's on a bridge and he's recording like the wind and the leaves, and he just wants to get sound effects. And as he's out recording sound, he witnesses a car accident. But it turns out that this car accident is not, or maybe not just an accident. There might be something more sinister about the accident. And yeah, I think we might have different opinions on this film, mate. But I really enjoyed this film. I do. Well, no, I do. I do really enjoy the film. It's sort of, as I say, it's De Palma's follow-up to Dressed to Kill, and he made this before he went off to do Scarface. And it's sort of a strange mix of conspiracy thriller, but also behind the scenes on movie making as well. Sort of shows you the behind the scenes of filmmaking. And when the film starts, and if you'd seen Dressed to Kill and then watch this, you think, oh, okay, what's this going to be like? Because the film just starts off with tits and arse everywhere. And it's actually the opening sequence to the horror film that Travolta's character is working on. So at the first 5 minutes, it's kind of this POV shot of a serial killer. And it reminded me of Halloween in that respect. It reminded me of the opening of John Carpenter's Halloween. But then it quickly establishes that this is the horror film that, Jack Terry is working on. And it is, I think it's quite an interesting conspiracy thriller. So obviously when he's out recording, he sees this car accident, but when he goes and he sort of rescues Nancy Allen's character, Sally, who's in the car, and he sort of jumps into the lake and rescues Nancy Allen's character. But there's someone else in the car as well who's dead, and it turns out he's this up-and-coming political senator who was basically a dead cert for the White House. He was going to be the next president. And when he goes back and listens to sort of the recording he was making at the time, he hears a gunshot. And he kind of pieces it all together and sort of pieces this conspiracy together that actually the car tire was shot out, and it isn't an accident. It was deliberate to murder this up and coming senator. So it's quite an interesting premise, and I think a lot of sort of the technical stuff behind this, how he reconstructs the sound and sort of matches it up to the events. I think that's all quite clever and quite well done. And John Travolta is brilliant here. It's like, it's his first grown-up performance, if you like. He is really, really good as Jack Terry, who kind of has a bit of a shady past where he'd helped the police previously in his life with a wiretap, which went disastrously wrong. So there's quite a bit of layers and complexity to his character. And John Travolta is the best thing in this film. You've also got John Lithgow sort of playing Psycho Bastard Pants, who's just going around murdering young women. He's part of this conspiracy to kill this senator, and he's sort of going around tying up all loose ends, if you like, and he sees Nancy Allen's character Sally as a loose end because she didn't die in the accident, so he sort of takes it upon himself to tie up these loose ends, and he's like he's like a bumbling idiot because like he just starts killing people who look like Nancy Allen. So he starts killing women all over the sort of Philadelphia area who just happen to look like her. And he's like, whoopsie, he's just like killing these women, but he's pretty good. He's pretty menacing, Lithgow. He is. I love John Lithgow, to be honest. He's a great actor. But we need to talk about Nancy Allen. Now, this podcast is, we've proven in the past that we're kind of fans of Nancy Allen. When we talked about Dress to Kill, I mean, we talked about the fact she was nominated for a Razzie for Dress to Kill, which I thought was pretty unfair. Now, if she'd been nominated for a Razzie for this film, I wouldn't be surprised because, frankly, she's fucking terrible in this film. She's not good at all. It's so strange that, De Palma directed her in Dress to Kill, then he directed her in Blowout, and I don't know if it's because her character's annoying, but she's not good. Like, I'm sorry, but Nancy Allen is not good in this film, and it's a real bloody shame. But we also have De Palma regular Dennis Franz playing his usual sleazy self, like the fat guy with brown sauce stains down his string vest, real sleazy bastard. And it's got a fantastic score from Pino Diageo as well, great score. And to be honest, this has got one of the best endings I've seen in thrillers. I don't want to go into spoilers, even though it's a 40-year-old film. The ending is pretty fucking devastating. It's a fantastic ending, and it's good that it's kind of brave that a major Hollywood thriller it doesn't have a happy ending. And I'm not going to say how or why, but overall, I think it's a really decent conspiracy thriller, really anchored by Travolta. Travolta's fantastic in it. And like I say, I like all the technical behind the scenes stuff as well. I don't think it's a really interesting snapshot of the time, but I don't think you're that keen on this one, are you, Ben?
No, I watched this a few years ago, and it used to be on every rotation on Sky Movies quite a lot. And I'd heard of it. I was always intrigued by it in the video shop because it has a very good, a very weird cover, like an elongated face stretched out, blowout. What could that be about? So I got a chance to watch it. But what we'd have to look at as well is that you've just touched upon is Nancy Allen. She's horrendous in this. And the only reason I could think about it, I thought, because she's a good actress. And like we said before, a Razzie Award for Dress to Kill? Really? I don't think so. She was one of the best ones in it. And all I can think of is between that and Blowout is because she's been asked to play a similar role again. She's been asked to play a prostitute or a call girl or an escort, whatever she really is, in Blowout. And I don't know whether she's trying to sort of, approach the role differently than she had previously with Dress to Kill, where to try to put a bit of distance between it, because it must be difficult if we want you to play a prostitute again. What, really? Do I look like a prostitute? Because she was. This will be a third, if I'm right, De Palma movie. She done Carrie, where she's the scheming cow. Obviously with John Travolta as well again. And then she done Dress to Kill, where she just gets caught up. She's the wrong person, the wrong place at the wrong time. And then she's in this one where she's not in the wrong place at the wrong time, but she's obviously trying to find a way to play it differently than she has in Dress to Kill. I'm not keen on it. I'm not. I couldn't buy the premise. I just couldn't get into it. I was sort of thinking, because I'm a dick like this, kids. I can be sometimes a bit of a dick where if I can't, I am. I say I'm a dick. Christ, I'll say I watch Superman too. If you tell me, you can't suspend disbelief for 2 hours, I can't, kids. I really can't. I'll quite happily watch King Kong. It's about an 80-foot ape that goes and destroys New York City. And if that's not me suspending disbelief, I don't know what it is. Or a grown man allowing children around his chocolate factory. So I can't be accused of not doing that. But what it is, it's when I can't invest in the subject matter. Now he records. He's out recording ambient sound because he's what do you call him? A Foley artist, I suppose. Out the course. Let's call him sound recordist. I'm trying to be
sound recordist.
Yeah. Because he's a Foley artist, whatever it is. Yeah. So he's trying to record ambient sound, and he's got a really powerful microphone. When he captures, it could be a gunshot, it could be blowout. He's adamant it's a gunshot. I think he actually sees it. And it's from that point on I couldn't sort of get into it. The car, you see, crashes into the water with the governor in it. I think the whole idea behind it is they wasn't supposed to kill the governor. They were supposed to shoot his ties out so he would crash and he would be caught in the car with a prostitute, and that would basically derail his run to the White House, and it goes wrong. So it was a bit Chappaquiddick, wasn't it, with Ted Kennedy here? I mean, it's all again very post-Watergate, isn't it, this movie?
Yeah, definitely.
And from there, John Travolta starts piecing together, well, it wasn't the saying the tyre blew out, it wasn't, it was shot out, and I've got the sound to prove it. I'm like, no, but it's a sound recording. I can get a sound recording. I kept sort of thinking, I can get a sound recording of a gunshot. And he's like, no one's going to believe me, which means I'm as good as John Travolta. I can get a sound of a gunshot. They believe me. I've got a greasy vest like Dennis Franz. In fact, I lent Dennis Franz that vest. So I couldn't get invested in the movie. I couldn't. And then when he sort of matches the roll of film up, which is quite clever, he matches the roll of film up to his sound. So you can see at the point where it's a gunshot. Again, I'm thinking, I know, but if you took that as evidence, and again, I'm being a dick, I'm sorry, kids. If you was present evidence, they would say, well, that's that. I can't use that because anybody, that could be any gunshot applied to that. You can't prove when you recorded that sound. And I'm being a dick. So I'm going to stop being a dick, and I'll tell you what I liked about the film. Yeah, you spot on. John Travolta he's great. He's good in it. I think it's his best grown-up performance since Night Fever. Brian De Palma's movies, no one makes films like Brian De Palma. He's like out of time. He makes films that you would normally see like his style is like very 1930s and 40s, but with like an 80s, 70s and 80s feel. Like he's allowed to put the tits in and stuff, but I don't think he just does it on purpose, the tits and everything. I mean, I think is it the third film he's done where you've got the Carrie dreamy porn shot through the showers, the steamy showers of the girls are flicking each other with towels, etc. And then you've got the same one in Dressed to Kill, more or less. And then you've got one here. But I mean, here again, they always have to, they're setting something up, and it's a great setup because it shows you what he does for a living. And I've got this running gag, which I think is quite funny throughout the film, although it ends with a really, really downbeat ending. This gag where they cannot get someone to scream properly, and it's quite funny. Someone gets killed in the shower, don't and they can't. You know, he's got three lasses lined up at one stage, hasn't he? He says, can you at least listen to him scream? Go on, you go. Oh, do you want? Neither. Oh, God. So it's good. What else do I like? Dennis Franz. Fucking hell, Dennis Franz is always great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And I was only thinking about his Die Hard 2 thing the other day. It's not quite the same as this, but it's up there again. He's a total sleazebag, like obnoxious asshole. But this one is even more obnoxious. It's like, I don't know, it's 20% more obnoxiousness from Dennis Franz. He's fucking great. He's the photographer, isn't he? Or doesn't he help set it up? He's not quite Nancy pimp, is he? He just works with it, doesn't he? And
that's right. Yeah,
it's a really uncomfortable where he sort of gets on top of her, and I think he's trying to force her into sex, and it's like, oh fucking hell, this took a dark turn very quickly. So yeah, I did like that. I just thought the premise overall, I couldn't buy into it. But you're right, it's got a very different ending. It's not a very Hollywood ending at all, and I think it actually was quite detrimental to it at the box office at the time. I don't think it did that well, if memory serves me correct. What did he do after this? Scarface? Did he do after this one, or did he do this?
Yeah,
one after Scarface?
He went. He went on to do Scarface after this one, which I haven't seen for about 25 years because I didn't like Scarface very much. It's like regarded as this gangster classic, and maybe I need to give it a revisit, but I'm just not that keen on it. And then because Scarface was so successful, like Columbia Pictures gave him free reign to do what he wanted. He made Scarface at Universal, and then Columbia Pictures sort of waved a big check at De Palma and said, come and work for us. And that's when he made Body Double, which I have talked about in previous shows, and I keep saying we need to talk about Body Double in the adult section because that's fucking awful. But it's, but as I've said in other shows, I think it'd be a great conversation for us, a great film for us to talk about. So he went and did Body Double, where he just turns all the porn and titillation and stuff up to 1,000. But yeah, I do really enjoy this film. I don't know if this was like the second time I'd seen it. I don't think I enjoyed it nearly half as much as the first time I watched it. I don't know if it's because I was watching it with a more critical eye for the podcast. But like the first time I watched it, I didn't really notice how bad Nancy Allen was. And when I was watching it the other day, I was like, no, she really is pretty awful here. And I'm wondering is it the character? Because in Dressed to Kill, she's like, yes, she's this hooker, but she's smart. She's intelligent. Yeah. She knows what she's got to do. She's investing money all over the place to sort of, make a lot of money, so she only has to sort of be a prostitute for a number of years, and then she can make enough to retire on. And she's investigating the murder of Angie Dickinson's character with Keith Gordon, and she's a really smart woman. She seems to be in control of the situation a lot of the time. But here in Blowout, she's like this dozy sort of girl who works behind a makeup counter in a department store, who sort of has this side hustle with Dennis Franz's character where they'll hire themselves out and, you know, to put themselves in situations you'd like, you know, she is hired to sort of go out with this senator and sort of, get caught with him to sort of bring his political career down. And she just seems not, you know, she doesn't seem the most intelligent character. And it might be the fact that the characters are just so wildly different. And maybe that's how she was told to play it. I mean, you know, De Palma was her husband at the time, and he cast her, and, you know, I think he met her when they did Carrie and then Dressed to Kill and Blowout. And it might be the way the character was written, the way the character was directed, because she is fucking terrible here. It's a shame, but, you know, overall, I think it's a pretty effective thriller. It reminds me a lot of The Conversation with Gene Hackman, which was directed by Coppola, which I think is an outstanding movie. It did remind me of that. And yeah, that ending, like you've already alluded to it, Ben, you know, sort of the running gag throughout the film is they can't get this decent scream for this horror movie they're working on. And, you know, the way they actually get a decent scream is absolutely devastating. I think that's a really clever bit of writing, and it's such a devastating ending. It's brilliant. I think the film ends really, really well. So it's a mixed bag, I think, overall. Yeah, I still think it's worth checking out. And I think De Palma is a very interesting director, and a lot of the shots, a lot of the shot compositions in this film, I think it became a bit of a cliche with De Palma then. I think it's called split diopters. There's 15 shots, 15 split diopter shots in this film, and some of them work really well, some of them don't. He started to use them in Dressed to Kill. There's a few of them in Dressed to Kill, but there's a real cool shot where John Travolta's collecting the sounds, and there's a split diopter shot of him and an owl. He's recording the sound of the owl. There's a lot of style. There's a lot of stylish shots in De Palma's work, but then you could argue, is it a case of style over substance in some cases? And it could be, but yeah, I think it's worth watching. I think it's worth watching for the ending alone, to be honest. And I know we've tiptoed around it, and if you haven't seen it, you kind of know now if you're going to watch it that it has quite a devastating ending. But it's definitely worth. I think it's definitely worth a watch for that.